life is simple. It's just not always easy. And yesterday I was on a Zoom call with this fellow who's a philosopher, Ken Wilber, and probably a lot of you may or may not have heard of him, but he's brilliant, and he deals with big ideas and philosophy, and I don't know, it was like, oh man, my head was kind of spinning, and somebody finally toward the end asked him, what's the biggest pitfall of spending all this time studying and thinking about all these big ideas? And he said, well, intellectualism, that we can get too much in our head. And I like the last thing he said, it was the best takeaway for me, is that people sometimes get the talk, but not the walk. And you want the walk, not the talk. That's the most important thing. Here was a guy who spends his life in big ideas, and he talked about his experience with Zen Buddhist masters, and he said they're taught to catch that right away with students. If someone's just in the talk, but not the walk, sometimes people have the perfect answers and they know just the right thing, but you don't get that they're really embodying it. And so I thought, well, that's what we're about today. That's what what my lesson is about, is how do we get the walk to live our spiritual principles? And I feel like I know that we do this in a lot of ways. I see examples of it every day and everybody I talk to, but this is maybe an opportunity to go a little deeper with it. And it's fundamental to what we teach in Unity. I could ask you, what does Unity teach? And it could be a lot of big ideas, and it could be, we could talk hours on it. We could read Charles Fillmore's book, The Atom-Smashing Power of the Mind, for those that are really up for something challenging. Or we can keep it simple so that we can really walk the talk. And I always like this. Somebody shared this with me several years ago. Unity teachings in 10 words. You know what the Unity teachings in 10? We talk about the 5 principles of unity. And the 10 words are, God is. God is, all that is. I am. Think it, pray it, be it. If you can embody that, and we were talking yesterday about, to having this transcendent experience of oneness. It's not just talking about oneness, we're one with everything, but have you had sometimes a moment when there's no separation, when it's not people with their birthdays, when you're not looking at a laptop screen for a Zoom thing, where you really, there's no separation, where you have that experience, that transcendent experience of oneness. God is, I am. Think it, pray it, and be it. And so really what we're talking about today, and these chapters in the book, are about Unity's 5th principle, that it's just understanding, knowing the laws of life, what we call spiritual truth, is not enough. We have to live the truth that we know. So I've been thinking a lot about lately, what does that look like? What does it look like when we feel like we're living spiritual truth? And, it can be prayer, thinking about when you hear about someone that you're concerned about, that your first instinct is to say, let's pray about it, or let's reach out to that person. Or it might be acts of loving kindness, or forgiveness, even when, or especially when it's hard. Being open to new ways of thinking about things. One thing that Ken Wilber says that I really like is that everybody is right, at least part of the time. That's a pretty high state of place in consciousness when we can get to, it's not my opinion and your opinion and our opinion, but, well, everybody is right at least part of the time, and so we can kind of connect in some way. And I know Pat Bessie always puts at the end of her emails this quote from Thich Nhat Hanh: reconciliation is to understand both sides, to go to one side and describe the suffering being experienced on the other side, and then go to the other side and be able to describe the experience of suffering that that person is having, to be able to put yourself in other people's shoes. And then joy. I love that, our daily word is joy. Joy is mine through all the seasons of life. I think I can tell you this much. I did go to see Julie, Miss Agates, in the hospital on Thursday, and she took a fall, and she's got a Hawaiian punch. She's got a black eye in her. But the first thing she said when I walked in the hospital room door, she thought I was coming to check to see if she'd done her church homework. She said, oh, I've got that thing from the Peace Park. Is there something I'm supposed to be doing when's the next Peace Park team meeting? I want to make sure that I got something done. And I said, no, stop it. Your job here is to get well, to rest and heal. But it was like, okay, that's Julie, or that's a lot of us. We're so conscientious. We're always thinking we have to be doing something for somebody else, when in that moment, the most important thing is to do something for ourselves, to rest or heal or let ourselves heal. So joy, claiming joy whenever we can, wherever we can, noticing joy moments. And so fortunately in this book that Christine Bush has channeled, The Voice of Jesus, there's some wonderful guidance about how to live our spiritual principles. And I pulled some key nuggets out of this one chapter. The truly spiritual life, the voice of Jesus says, is being actively engaged in the world. I guess, the Bible tells us, Jesus said, being in the world but not of the world. So he didn't say, go sit on a mountaintop or go in a cave, but being actively engaged, connected, talking to people, meeting people where they're at, but doing it in a way that's drawing upon the wisdom of your soul connection. And to always be actively learning and teaching. And I think a lot of us are lifelong learners. That's what keeps us young and alive and vibrant, and always to be doing it knowing that love is the most important thing. That is for love. It's about love. It's allowing love to move through us. And so I really like this quote, that a true spiritual path is one where an individual fully engages in the challenges of the world to bring love to chaos. To bring love to chaos. Well, I can relate, and I thought, sometimes it can happen in small little ways, relatively small ways, and sometimes it's much bigger ways. The other day yesterday I was getting ready for a meeting and a Zoom call, and I had a bunch of stuff to do. And I have this one drawer in my desk at home where I keep all my loose stuff, and paper clips and papers and little notes and little charms and little things, stones and things people that have given me or that I want to see. All this loose stuff. I pulled the drawer, it fell out of the desk and tipped upside down, and all the stuff went scattering all over the floor. I was like, chaos. And here I am trying to get ready for the Zoom call and get out the door, and it just was like all over the place. So I thought, oh no. But it's like as soon as I kind of changed my attitude, I thought, well, maybe this is an opportunity to go through the drawer, sort through everything, decide what I can let go of and release, and bring some order and I'm going to put all the paper clips in a little Ziploc bag now, and sort certain things. And so it was like I took it as an opportunity to bring love to chaos. I spread everything out, I sorted it, I released some things, I lovingly brought some order to it. But, sometimes it can be much bigger things. Yeah, I also had the opportunity this week to be visiting with Georgia, and she's doing well and sends her love, and she's hoping maybe she can be here for her birthday. I don't know, March 21st is the first day of spring. She mentioned your kids. She had heard from you. She wanted to see Verity and Miko, or you said something. She said, well, if she came for her birthday, you could have your kids come, and we'd all see her.
What number would it be will be for her?
So, pardon me?
What number will be?
What, 97, 98? 99. So let's hold that in our prayers. Let's hold that. But so that's really something. But while we were visiting, her grandson was here in town for about a week, Jeff, and he lives in Atlanta. And he's the son of her daughter that was a career police officer. She's retired now, but she was a police officer for the city of Atlanta. So, I can only imagine she's seen a lot of stuff. And he, he was so full of wisdom. Their whole family is like just wisdom, spewing out of their pores and everything they say. But he was telling me about this thing. He said that often he has seen people who don't really know each other refer to each other as uncle or nephew, or maybe an aunt or a niece. Maybe you might walk into a store or a situation and just say, hey, Uncle Mike, or Mikey. And he said it's a way of making a connection with someone, and that it helps to de-escalate a situation that could possibly turn violent or be disruptive in some way. That he said, when you can refer to someone as uncle or nephew or aunt, maybe your niece or sister or brother, that you very quickly, you see them then as part of your family. And you're much less likely to do harm to someone who you consider part of your family. And I thought, so I don't know if that's kind of a practice that, in the African American community, if people do that more, that when you see something and if there's somebody who's upset or disturbed or could be angry, you just start calling, hey, Uncle Joe or nephew. And he just kept saying that. It just sort of de-escalates. It just sort of helps to your family, so you wouldn't hurt each other. And I thought, wow, what an important lesson, what if we all saw each other that way? What if, whether it's someone in your immediate presence or across the world, if we all thought of each other as uncles and aunts and cousins and brothers and sisters, it would be a way of bringing love to chaos. So I think about, being, this thing about living a true spiritual life is, looking for opportunities to help others. Finding a way to step forward to be an activist for God, or asking yourself, where can I be more generous or more mindful? And just knowing that no act is too small. Our bookkeeper, Lorraine, I know you've never met her because she's very committed to her own church. She goes to another church, but she comes in once a week. And she was here, and this week our waste baskets were all full of empty water bottles from having had the Unity Gallery reception last Sunday. And it just been put in the trash. And she said, can I have those bottles? And I said, sure. She walked out of here with 2 big brown bags. She said, that there's some important ministries at her church, and she was going to take those bottles and redeem them all for 5 cents and use that money to put towards something at her church and I thought, oh man, thank you for teaching me the importance of, that there's no gift that's too small, or being mindful about how I want to use my time and money and resources to, if you have a few extra dollars, give it somewhere that is important to you, that's meaningful. So, I think about everything is a precious, we have precious gifts and resources. And Max introduced me, made a connection with me. The woman at Compass House, she's been the executive director. She's worked there for like 30 years or whatever. I went over this week and met with her because I thought, well, we're not having young kids come into the church. Maybe I need to go out and find a way to connect with young people in the community. And Compass House is this amazing place. They serve over 500, kids that are homeless or can't go back to their homes for one reason or another. And Max works there. And so I went over to see if maybe I could do a group or a class or something. And she said, well, we don't want to talk about religion. We don't have people come in and preach or anything. I said, I promise I won't, And then I had brought the book, The Eye of the Storm. I thought, how about this? I laid it on the table and told her what it's about, embracing conflict, creating. She said, that's exactly what they need. That's exactly what these kids need to hear. So I said, well, why don't I just come and share a little bit from the book? Once or twice a month. She said, let's try it. So I'm going to try it. In a couple of weeks, I have an appointment to go back. So I thought we have these precious gifts and resources that we don't even know that we have. And then I thought about just my Sunday service time, that every week I have an hour, a little bit of time to share something that I think is, that I hope will make a difference in your life for the week, or that you can go on and share with someone else. And this is Black History Month, and so there's just so much that we need to think about and reflect on. But one of the things, it is an opportunity to learn a little more about the history of people that, that are our friends and neighbors and part of our community, and take inspiration from some people's lives. And the person I thought about to share this week, is somebody I have always loved this quote, and I didn't know that much about him, but I thought, what a great example this is of what we're talking about, and being actively engaged in the world. Howard Thurman. How many of you know about Howard Thurman? Oh, good. So, well, one or two hands here. So okay. So the rest of you are gonna know more by the end of this hour. But he said, this is one quote that he's most known for: "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, and go do it." Because what the world needs is more people who have come alive. Wow. So Jesus in our book says a truly spiritual life is somebody who's actively engaged in the world, who's connected from their soul knowledge, who's always learning and teaching. And, wow, what is it that makes you come alive? And do that. Don't go do, I got to do this or I got to do that. So Howard Thurman was born in 1899, and he lived till 1981. He was an American author, philosopher, theologian, mystic, educator, civil rights leader. He was a preacher. He was a prominent religious leader that really was a key mentor to many in the civil rights movement, including Dr. King. And his theology was radical nonviolence that shaped a generation of civil rights leaders. He graduated valedictorian from Morehouse College, and then valedictorian at Rochester Theological Seminary in 1929. He served several churches. He was the first dean of a chapel at Howard University, where he also served on the faculty. He traveled internationally. He led Christian groups on missions and meeting with world leaders. He was part of leading a 6-month trip of African Americans to visit India, where they had the opportunity to meet with Mahatma Gandhi, and it said that they asked persistent, pragmatic questions. They said to Gandhi, "What do you mean? How's this supposed to work? Really?" Persistent, pragmatic question. I thought that's good. They should be, And he said that, he asked Gandhi in one of those meetings, what is the most important message I should bring back to the United States? And Gandhi said, well, you know what? One of my greatest regrets in life is that I wish I had made nonviolence, the practice of nonviolence, more visible worldwide. I wish I had done more to take that message, beyond just India. And Gandhi said this, he said, perhaps now it's up to the Negroes. It may be that through the Negroes that the unadulterated message of nonviolence will finally be delivered to the world. So he carried that message back, and he shared it, and he mentored many leaders. And he was also, then he served for many years at Boston University. He was the first dean of the chapel there and the first black person to be a dean of a majority white university chapel. And he's said to have influenced many people, including a rabbi, to get more into the mystical trends in Judaism. So he did a lot, 22 books. He was a wonderful poet. I'm going to share some of the poetry in a minute. He became an honorary canon at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in New York City. He was considered one of the 50 most prominent figures in African American history by Ebony magazine, and on. But to me, he's a living example of the true spiritual truth. And I want to share one poem right now, and then I'm going to share some more, but this is one of his poems, The Earth Beneath My Feet. The earth beneath my feet is the great womb out of which the life upon which my body depends comes in utter abundance. There is at work in the soil a mystery by which the death of one seed is reborn 1,000-fold in newness of life. Isn't that beautiful? We ought to put that on our Peace Park. That should be. So, there are many things, and I'll share a few more poems, but there's something in every one of you that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine inside yourself. It's the only one true God you will ever have. That's your soul. And if you cannot hear it, you will all your life spend your days on the ends of strings that someone else is pulling. So we want to pull our own strings. So, in this book, the voice of Jesus gives us some qualities that as we, move on the spiritual path, we begin to embody these qualities of being courageous and humble and selfless and having a sense of purpose and joy. This is another quote from the book. It's much easier to show love to those who are suffering than it is to show love to those causing difficulties. But both are to be loved. So that's the tough part. That's not passive love. That's courageous, active love when we can find a way to show love to those that we think are causing difficulties, or causing pain or suffering in some way. And I like that we're supposed to do this with joy, that we can, the daily word says you can have joy no matter what, even in darker times. That joy is more than just a feeling or a fleeting, it's a part of us. It's a way that we can feel the presence of God. Perhaps, I can only imagine maybe for Howard Thurman, writing poetry was a source of joy. I know that just when I was looking up his poems and reading and finding, I was feeling a lot of joy. Just, wow, which one can how many, I wanted to just share all of them with you. And how do I pick just a few that I can share on Sunday? But I learned a term this week. Paul Hasselbeck, who's a union minister, always provides sort of a commentary on the daily word. And he created this term. It's called joy spotter. Because our daily word is about joy. He says, be a joy spotter. And what this is it's a spiritual practice of identifying those moments when you spontaneously feel a sense of joy. Just that, spot that moment. Oh, there's one, there's one, there's one. Hearing about Karen's dog, there's a moment. And Don and Harriet shared with us a moment of joy that they spotted. They had gone out to breakfast. They drove down to Allegheny and went to the Perkins for breakfast. And then they were driving by and they saw this park. And there were some swings on the park, and there was a little zip line for kids. And it was just like they wanted to seize them. They looked at that, and they thought, we got to stop the car and get out and seize the moment. And I don't know whose idea it was first to jump out of the car and go get on those swings. And then Don really wanted to ride the zip line. And they were just like little kids again, And they said the swings were kind of low, so you were bumping your butt on the ground as you were going back.
We dragged our butts on the ground when we were out ground.
Yeah, you dragged your butts on you were laughing about, I'm getting dirt on my butt. It's okay to say butt in church, I think, I don't know. So, but, it was just like the sense of joy and playfulness that I got. It was just like you could have just driven by and said, oh no. But no, you don't want to miss that moment. And so I thought, thank you for reminding me to, when you see a moment like that, grab it. And, so it can be I'm on another Zoom call and somebody's got their cat or their dog that comes up to join the conversation, You see the cat walking across the keyboard, Well, there we go, I thought about, let me read you this poem. This is a poem from Howard Thurman. Life is saved by the singing of angels. I love this. There must be always remaining in everyone's life some place for the singing of angels, some place for that which in itself is breathlessly beautiful and by an inherent prerogative throws all the rest of life into a new and creative relatedness, something that gathers up in itself all the freshness of experience from drab and commonplace areas of life and glows in one bright white light of penetrating beauty and meaning, and then passes. The commonplace is shot through with new glory. Old burdens become lighter, deep and ancient wounds lose much of their old hurting. A crown is placed over our heads that for the rest of our lives we are trying to grow tall enough to wear. Despite all the crassness of life, despite all the hardness of life, despite all the harsh discords of life, life is saved by the singing of angels. Oh, man. Where's Judy Popez? She always puts an angel in her paintings. So, I thought about, angels, people can be angels in their lives and experience as an angel, some connection. just a joy spotter. It might be watching a child play or something. But, here's another place where I feel like there's a lot of joy spotting going on. And it's at Unity of Buffalo. Last week, gave you all a sheet of paper to write on why I'm a member. And we received over 20 responses, and they were just wonderful. And we're going to just a little bit at a time share them, in the email blast so that we can kind of really savor them and digest them. And here's what Max wrote. She said, the openness of the people and what unity stands for, love and peace and wisdom. I come for the opportunity to grow in spiritual ways. Thank you, Max. And then someone else, and it's fine to put it, make it anonymous. You don't have to share your name. I can be myself without judgment. I feel at ease here. People are genuine and authentic. So one of us said that. So we have more of these pieces of paper here. We didn't pass them out to everybody, but the baskets over there, I just want to really encourage you to keep thinking about something that you would like to say. And you can sign your name, or you can leave it blank, or you can just give your first name, or not at all. But, I think I want to just encourage, more people to fill out a piece of paper. And let's consider this, like the way they do elections in Chicago. You can vote early, vote often. It's okay to put in 2 or 3 sheets. We're not checking. It's not just one per person. You can vote early, vote often, as many as you want. So, so today we've talked about, how do we practice Unity's 5th principle? How do we live the truth that we know? Walking the talk, or integrating a spiritual life. And it's just to know that every act done in love has a huge impact. And, in the book, she talks about a spiritual path exists for only love, to be coming from love, for the purpose of love, to be choosing love, and that we can, wherever we are, whatever's going on, we can say we're going to begin right now. We can make it a daily intention. We can adopt the spiritual practice of being a joy spotter. You could share with someone this week about Howard Thurman, what you learned, or that quote about what is it that makes you come alive, and go do that. Or look for examples of people that are doing that, people who love their work. And, that's inspirational for me. So.